In the wild frontier, danger arrives without warning and trust is earned by blood. Tonight's story begins with a cowboy discovering an Apache woman tied to his ranch fence, bruised, defiant, and hunted by men who would kill for a secret she never had. What follows is a battle for survival, a test of loyalty, and a bond neither of them expected. Before we begin, hit subscribe, share this video, and drop a comment if you love intense Western tales. Now saddle up, because this story starts fast, and it does not slow down. The wind sliced across the open plains as the cowboy reined in his horse, his jaw tightening the moment he saw her. Tied to the rancher's fence with rawhide straps cutting into her wrists, the Apache woman lifted her chin with a defiance that burned even brighter than the setting sun. "Do whatever you want, cowboy," she spat, refusing to look away. He swung down from the saddle, boots crunching over dry dirt, and wondered who in their right mind would leave a woman like her bound in the open, where wolves and worse things roamed freely. He stepped closer and she didn't flinch, though her breath trembled just slightly. She was proud, fierce, like every Apache he had ever met, but there was something else in her eyes, something tired and raw beneath the fire. "Who did this to you?" he asked, scanning the tree line, sensing trouble. She shook her head, lips tightening, refusing to give him anything. The cowboy cursed under his breath, pulled his knife, and sliced the straps. She stumbled forward but caught herself before he could reach out. The moment she was free, she backed away, rubbing the swollen skin around her wrists. "I didn't ask for your help," she muttered, though she was swaying on her feet. The cowboy watched her, noting the bruising on her arms, the dirt in her braids, the way she guarded herself like someone used to danger. "Maybe not," he replied, "but you needed it." She narrowed her eyes, studying him, as if waiting for him to show the cruelty she expected. Instead, he stepped back, giving her space she clearly wasn't used to. The silence stretched between them, thick with mistrust. A lone crow cawed overhead, circling lazily as if sensing the tension. The cowboy adjusted his hat, his instincts prickling. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said finally. "Not tied like that," she scoffed. "I'm Apache, I fear no man." But her voice wavered at the edges, betraying her exhaustion. "You fear the wrong ones then," he replied, "because whoever tied you up might come back." Her jaw clenched, and he knew he'd struck a nerve. She turned her face toward the horizon, shoulders rising and falling with hard breaths. "They already did what they came to do," she whispered. He frowned, stepping closer again despite her glare. "Meaning what?" She didn't answer, but her eyes drifted to the torn fabric at her side, stained with dried blood. He noticed it now, the limp she tried to hide, the pain she hid behind her pride. "You're hurt," he said quietly. "I can help." She straightened, summoning the last scraps of her strength. "I don't need a cowboy's pity." A distant rifle crack shattered the air, sending a bullet whining past the fence post. The cowboy's reflexes kicked in instantly. "Down," he barked, grabbing her by the arm and pulling her behind the trough as another shot rang out. She cursed him but ducked with him, eyes blazing as dust spattered around them. Someone wasn't just watching, they were hunting. "Friends of yours?" he asked. "No," she hissed. "Enemies, and now yours too." The cowboy gritted his teeth, peeking over the trough to scan the ridge. The shooter was well hidden, but the angle told him enough. They were being pushed, pinned, and tested. "We need to move," he said. "Can you run?" She glared, offended by the question, but winced when she tried to rise. He didn't wait for permission. He scooped her up and she fought him until the gunfire came again. Then she went still, gripping his shirt as he sprinted toward the barn. Each shot chased them like a shadow, hitting the dirt inches from his boots, but he didn't stop. Inside the barn, the cool darkness wrapped around them like a fragile shield. Horses stamped nervously, sensing the tension. The cowboy placed her gently on a pile of hay, breathing hard. She winced but didn't push him away this time. "Why are they after you?" he demanded softly. She looked away, jaw shaking despite her effort to hide it. "Because I refused to tell them where my tribe moved. They thought pain would change my mind." His stomach twisted. He'd seen cruelty before, but never liked the taste it left. He knelt in front of her, taking in the bruises, the torn edges of her clothing, the injuries she tried so desperately to conceal. "You don't owe me anything," he said, voice low, "but if they hurt you, they'll hurt others too." She gave a bitter laugh. "You think I don't know that?" Her breath hitched, and she pressed a hand to her ribs. "I have lived with that truth since childhood." He reached for the canteen at his belt, offering it. After a moment of hesitation, she took it. As she drank, some color returned to her face, but the distrust never faded. "You should leave," she murmured. "They want me, not you." He wiped sweat from his brow and shook his head. "Doesn't work that way. They shot at me too, that makes it my fight." She studied him in a long, searching stare, as if measuring his soul. "Cowboys don't fight for Apache women," she said softly, "not unless they want something." His gaze locked with hers, steady, unflinching. "Maybe I just don't like seeing people treated like animals." Her breath faltered, as if the simple honesty struck somewhere deep. She opened her mouth to speak, but the barn door rattled, a shadow passing under the gap. The cowboy stiffened, silent hand drifting toward his revolver. She went still beside him, every muscle tense. Footsteps approached, slow, deliberate, confident. Whoever they weren't hiding anymore. The cowboy leaned closer, whispering, "Stay behind me." She almost protested, but something in his tone, firm, protective, unwavering, made her obey for the first time. The footsteps paused just outside the barn door, and the cowboy positioned himself between the woman and the danger, muscles coiled and ready. The door creaked open, and a tall man stepped inside, rifle in hand, eyes scanning until they locked on the cowboy. "Mercer," the man drawled, "you picked the wrong stray to rescue." The cowboy didn't blink. "Walk away while you still can," he warned. The intruder smirked, stroking his finger against the trigger. "Can't do that. That woman's worth a fortune." His gaze drifted past the cowboy, alive or dead. The cowboy's jaw hardened. "She's under my protection now," the hunter chuckled. "You can't protect her from what's coming." His finger tightened on the trigger, but the cowboy moved faster, diving to the side as a shot tore into a support beam. The horses panicked, rearing and kicking, filling the barn with chaos. The cowboy fired back, forcing the intruder behind a stack of crates. Dust clouded the air as both men exchanged two more shots, sparks jumping from metal tools along the wall. Kiona watched, breath shallow, eyes darting between shadows as she searched for a weapon, anything she could use to help. She spotted a pitchfork leaning nearby and dragged herself toward it, pain twisting through her ribs with each movement. The cowboy caught the motion and shouted, "Stay down," but she ignored him. The intruder popped up again, firing at the cowboy's feet. Wood splintered, hay scattered. With a cry, Kiona launched the pitchfork toward the intruder, forcing him to duck. The cowboy seized the distraction. He lunged forward, tackling the hunter with a crack that echoed across the barn. The rifle skidded away as the two men grappled in the dirt, throwing punches that sent dust rising in thick clouds. The intruder was bigger, meaner, and desperate. He landed a heavy blow to the cowboy's jaw, sending stars across his vision. But when the hunter reached for a knife at his boot, the cowboy reacted with pure instinct, grabbing his wrist and slamming it against the ground until the blade flew free. The hunter snarled and swung again, but the cowboy blocked it, driving his fist into the man's stomach. The air whooshed out of the intruder and he fell back, stunned. The cowboy rose, chest heaving, and retrieved the rifle from the floor. He pointed it at the man's heart. "This is the last time you come after her," he said. The hunter laughed weakly. "You think she's safe with you? There are more of us, dozens. You can't stop what's coming." The cowboy stepped closer. "Then you tell them this." John Mercer doesn't back down. The intruder's eyes flickered, uncertainty replacing arrogance. Kiona stepped forward, her shadow falling beside the cowboy. "Tell your men," she said in a voice low and sharp, "that I will not run anymore, and neither will he." The hunter swallowed, nodding slowly. The cowboy motioned with the rifle. "Get out." The man scrambled up and limped out of the barn, clutching his bruised ribs, never once looking back. The cowboy waited until the footsteps faded entirely before lowering the rifle and letting out a long, shaky breath. Kiona approached him carefully, watching the blood on his knuckles, the welt forming on his cheek. "You shouldn't have risked your life for me," she murmured. The cowboy wiped sweat and dust from his brow. "Couldn't let them take you." She studied him with new eyes, the suspicion that once shaded her expression softening just slightly. "You don't even know who I am," she whispered. He met her gaze without hesitation. "Then tell me." She looked away, swallowing hard. "My tribe calls me Kiona. I am the last surviving daughter of Chief Tallhawk." The cowboy's eyes widened. Her father was a legend, wise, fierce, respected by tribes and settlers alike. "Those men," she continued, "believe he left a map to gold hidden in the mountains. They think I know where. They think hurting me will make me betray my people." Pain flickered across her face, but she stood tall. "But I carry no map, no treasure. My father died protecting our land, not hiding riches." The cowboy nodded slowly. "You don't owe anyone an explanation." She looked at him softly. "You believed me that easily." Rugged, "I know an honest soul when I see one." She laughed softly, a sound that surprised even her, and the tension that had bound her for days began to slip away. But the danger hadn't vanished. The cowboy stepped outside and stared across the plains. Clouds gathered on the horizon, dark as gunmetal. "They'll come back," he murmured. He wasn't lying about that. Kiona joined him, her shoulder brushing his. "Then we meet them together." He turned to her, stunned by her steadiness. "You're injured." She smirked faintly. "Still better than most of them." They spent the next hours preparing, barricading fences, loading rifles, setting traps only an Apache warrior could design. As night fell, the ranch transformed into a quiet fortress. The cowboy checked her bandages, tightening them gently. She winced but didn't pull away this time. "Why are you staying?" he asked suddenly. Kiona glanced up, eyes shimmering in the lantern light. "Because you saw me as a person, not a prize. Because you fought for me when you didn't have to." Her voice softened. "And because I trust you." The cowboy felt something heavy settle in his chest, something warm and unfamiliar. Before he could respond, the faint rumble of approaching horses echoed across the plains. Dozens of flickering torches moved through the darkness like fiery serpents. The bounty hunters had returned, more of them than he expected. Kiona stepped beside him, gripping the cowboy's spare knife. "Whatever happens," she whispered, "we stand together." He nodded, heart pounding. They took their positions, holding their breath as the riders surrounded the ranch. But instead of attacking, the hunters halted. A tall man stepped forward, a leader by his confident stance. He raised his hand. "We're not here to kill you, Mercer," he called. "We just want the woman." The cowboy fired a warning shot, the bullet sparking off a rock near the leader's boot. "Not happening," the leader sighed. "Then this ends badly for everyone." Kiona stepped beside the cowboy, voice ringing through the night. "There is no treasure, there is no map. Leave my people in peace." A murmur rippled through the group. Some looked uncertain, others angry. The leader growled, "Lies." But before he could speak again, several hunters backed away, unwilling to fight a pointless war. Their retreat caused panic in the others, and soon the group fractured, men turning against each other in argument. Within minutes, the riders splintered, scattering like dust in the wind. The leader cursed and galloped after them, realizing the battle was lost before it began. Silence settled over the ranch. The cowboy exhaled shakily. Kiona lowered the knife, shoulders sagging. The danger had passed, not through violence, but through truth and courage. She turned to him slowly, gratitude shining in her eyes. "You saved my life," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "You saved mine too." For the first time, she allowed herself to lean into him, her head resting against his chest. The cowboy wrapped an arm around her carefully, feeling the weight of everything they'd survived. When the night grew quiet and the stars stretched endlessly above them, Kiona looked up at him. "What happens now?" she asked softly. The cowboy brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Whatever you want." She smiled, tired, relieved, and finally free. "Then I want to stay, at least for a while." He nodded, heart full. Side by side, they walked back toward the warm glow of the ranch house, knowing the darkness behind them had changed everything.